Hi, everybody. This is Self-Discovery TV. Welcome. Jessica Alstrom is our special guest today. Hi, Jessica from
Hey,
Town. Are
good
you in
morning from Kansas.
Kansas? That's right. And I'm from Perth, Australia. It's great to have you here. I think we've got a better line this time than last time. We had a bit of an echo, but it's great to see you again. You're the Soulful Awards World Server from 2016. And it's great to have you here. So, and you're the author. Tell us about, you've got a new book coming, Me, Myself, I. Has that been published? It's on its way?
No, I think we're gonna have you guys do it over there in Perth, just because we have such a huge following in Australia. The funny thing about it is, last time we did this interview, our reception was bad and I couldn't hear you. So I literally had to channel the whole thing. Like, I had to go in and tap into you telepathically and like listen to your questions. I'm like, I hope this works. And then everyone's listening and they're like, yeah, it was fine. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, good. A real test, but
it just shows you when you have to be, you didn't have to be left brain. You had to be tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you did a great job, by the way, because everyone said that was one of my best interviews. So,
awesome. Yeah, the book Me, Myself, and I is basically, it's a quantum perspective of how we're really creating our reality, because we've heard about law of attraction. We've heard, we watched The Secret, we've learned about positive thoughts. We've learned about our brains. And in the last, 5 or 6 years, we have been really learning as a collective how this whole thing works and how we're actually manipulating energy to build our dream lives. And so this book takes you into the exact process of your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and your unconscious mind, which the me, myself, and I. We have this ego component of ourselves that kind of is the perpetual scared, alone, wounded child, afraid of everything, afraid of death, afraid of failing, afraid of being judged, rejection. And then there's like this unlimited part of yourself that's like always pulling you into your greatness and pulling you into your purpose. And so there's like this push-pull that goes back and forth. And the body, believe it or not, is like a faithful servant. It's like, who are we listening to? Are we listening to, the dark side or the light side? And I call it like your inner Yoda, like your little version of you that's like, hey, we just want to be happy. And the body literally doesn't know the difference between imagination and real, because the body doesn't operate with time and space. So only really the mind operates with time and space. And so in this book, I teach you how to really get inside of yourselves, instead of, blaming outside conditions, blaming family, blaming your childhood, and really get inside of yourself where the programs are actually stored. Because believe it or not, we are like a computer. And everything that we, verbalize and live and become is usually a byproduct of what we've been through. And so if we are continuing to create the past, we can never really create anything new. And what Kelly and I were talking about before we went live was what a challenging year 2017 has been. And if you guys follow my Second Sundays.
What I'm saying about the Soulful Awards is every year, and literally I had the worst year probably I've ever had. So challenging and forced to be, to look at yourself in the mirror and look at your dark side and all the shadow sides and all the, you just kind of like your hate mail's getting bigger than your like mail. And I really wasn't feeling very soulful this year. And I said, I just can't put it on. I just didn't have it in the heart. And I said, that's it. Then I'm just not going to have it. So next year is the Soulful Awards. And we would love to have you here in Perth as one of our ambassadors. That would be amazing. Absolutely. And we're trying to put that on the ice rink. So I don't want to tell my secret just yet, but I would love to be on ice.
Sounds amazing. Yeah, I can't wait for it.
Bring your ice skates. I'm sure you can skate. Can you skate?
No, I cannot, but I have motivation to learn now.
It's all right. There's a warm area as well. But you're going to tell us about this year being so, like you're saying, it wouldn't matter how good your intentions were, and it wasn't going to work for anyone, not for me anyway. It's just.
Well, I mean, you know what? It worked out beautifully, and here's why. First and foremost, we have this divine plan that we're following. I always say, we are going to get where we need to be, regardless. We can push and fight, or we can go with the flow. And what happened this last year in 2017, I'll tell you a little bit scientifically, and then I'll tell you spiritually how it actually unfolded. Because, you know, I like to bring awareness and truth to spirituality, because sometimes spirituality is a lot of trust and it's a lot of faith, but science can be proven. So scientifically, this year was a buildup of everyone setting an intention to live their best lives. And when people finally get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they really want to live their purpose, and they want to stop being afraid, and they want to experience genuine, authentic, unconditional love, people begin to ask. And when people begin to ask for those things, there's this desire element, which is the first step of manifestation. And it builds within us collectively. Now, we know spiritually that anything you ask for, right, is going to rise everything inside of you that is not in perfect alignment with that to the surface. So when you ask, basically what you're doing is you're saying, show me, instead of universe, give me my best life. What you're actually saying is, show me where I am blocking myself. Show me where I am in my way. Show me what I'm afraid of.
No. I was saying, show me the money.
Right? And what is money? Money, okay, so I teach a lot about money, because money is just energy. And money is actually, you're storing the money inside of you, because it's a collective, it's a belief system about abundance. But when we decode money, what it actually is stemming from is two belief systems. One belief system is, how valuable am I? And the second belief system is, am I safe? Because money is linked with safety. Right? Because what does money allow us to do? It allows us to create. It allows us to be free. It allows us to be safe, right? It allows us to feel, you know, like that we have this worthiness in our lifestyle. And it's also about my value. You know, a lot of us in our field, light workers and teachers and coaches, and we have a tendency to be the hardest on ourselves because we're empathic, because we can feel the world's unworthiness. So we bring up our own. And
the lesson for me this year, that one, and all the coaching I'm in a blind client, same thing, how to value boundaries and
absolutely, yeah. And it brought up all of that this year, but it was really supposed to, because 2017 is actually where we clear a lot of the solar plexus energy, which is where our power center is our ability to be our most powerful, genuine, loving selves. And that really needed to integrate into the heart this year. So we couldn't live our lives powerful. We needed to live our lives heart powered. Mm-hmm. And so we had to clear everything that was in the way of the heart being blocked. So, you know, again, like everything you experienced in your world this year, it was like an unbecoming. It was like a coming of, you know, everything was falling down. And I experienced the same thing from, you know, March of this year until pretty much October. You know, it has been a cycle of my whole world just kind of collapsing so that I could see really who I was underneath all of that.
You know, the funny thing is, even like a restaurant you've been going to for, say, 10 years, and you go to them every month, you've got a great rapport, everything's perfect every month. You can literally walk in, it's perfection. You walk out, perfection. Everyone loves each other. It's fantastic. But this year, there's a conflict, of course, and it gets to the point, there was so much conflict this year that you kind of just go, of course, you know, I'm just going to put my head in the sand. There's more conflict coming my way.
Yeah, but like, what did we get this year? We got courage. We looked at a lot of things that are no longer serving us. We became more loving because we had to. You know, the thing is we had to become more vulnerable. And vulnerability and acceptance is a really true path to love. And a lot of us have been hiding behind our careers. We've been hiding behind our talents. We've been hiding behind our relationships. We've been hiding behind all of these things. And in order for us to really become, you know, the version of ourselves that we were born to be, we have to kind of get transparent. And that's what happened this year, is the shadows were forced outside of us so that we could reflect and look at them. And it wasn't an easy year for any of us, I don't think. I mean, everybody went through some sort of cataclysmic event or events that just kind of cycled out of control to the point where pretty much probably 6 months ago, I was like, I don't even know if I want to keep doing this, because, you know, it was like, there was like a crossroads moment, and I'm like, this is all I am. So I'm just going to have to weather this storm.
Other coach friends like me, we're mirrors of each other, and we're all going, you know, 25 years in the business, and we're all going, you know, I'm not, we're going to take me down the road, a normal job, and get a normal life, and be a normal person.
But be a normal person.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is, yeah.
Get a normal job and work at bloody goals. I'm just going to have a real job.
Right. But you know what? It really does bring everything to the surface that we have been hiding from. And in the book, I talk about, you know, those components of the me, myself, and I, and where we bury these things and how we shut them down and how we disassociate and how we suppress certain things. But the really cool thing about the universe is it works in law of reflection and projection. So I can't hide anything from myself that I'm not going to manifest in another person. So it's a gift from me to say, okay, I'm hiding this deep within my unconscious and I'm walking around like everything's okay. And then, you know, in comes a new character in my life that is literally acting out this very thing that I'm hiding from myself. And I'm like,
and it's being control, and you're like, what's going on?
But if you're not aware, you know, if you're still running the blame game or you're still, you know, afraid of your environment, that person is going to walk into your reality and you're going to feel attacked. You're going to feel small. You're going to feel judged. But really, if we understand how the universe is reflecting back to us ourselves, we can say, wow, this person is really triggering me, or this is really triggering me, and it's triggering a safety issue or anger issue or humiliation. Let me look deep inside of myself at where I have hidden that characteristic, because I cannot attract anything around me that is not a perfect reflection of me.
Yeah.
And that's really what we teach in the academy.
Esther Hicks from, you know, Abraham, channeling Abraham, says the same thing. She goes, even if someone's got a gun at your head, you've got to own that. Say that I am putting a gun to my head. Like, you've got to own everything that's happening. That is all part of your own, you know. But, you know, tell me about this, because people can understand as adults that we're all responsible for our own attraction. But, you know, what about children who are completely innocent and they attract, you know, terrible things to happen to them?
Yeah.
And obviously that's in the vortex as well, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, there is no bad and good in the universe. And death, believe it or not, and suffering is a byproduct of learning how to love. So when we look at why children have gone through what they've gone through, the suffering, the thing that looks like from the outside looking in, an innocent child suffering, we have to look at a bigger global evolutionary scale, because when we look at everything as evolution, we have lived in a civilization where love has not run this planet. You know, power has run this planet. Now, nature is constantly trying to remind us of love, but we have shut that down because it's not safe. Love hurts. We've been abandoned. We've been rejected. So we have hidden our hearts from the world. So if really the best way to heal your heart is heartbreak, because it's duality. We live in a state of duality. And when your heart breaks, what happens is it opens up and the light from inside can get out. And so these children.
The only time you say, anytime you feel like you're having any emotion, you think, oh, I actually am human. I'm crying every day.
Yes.
And because my heart's broken. And someone said, well, the only reason you feel heartbroken is because someone loved you. So I thought, oh, that's a nice thought.
It is. It is a nice thought. Well, and the reason why, because I teach that we really do choose everything that we create. You know, we're choosing it from a higher perspective, a more unity perspective, a oneness. So when children go through these things, what it does is it globally opens up our heart centers, and it makes us become more in tune with our neighborhood, our environment, our children. You know, because we can get into this rat race, it's just about me, it's just about me, it's just about me. And when you see a child suffer, all of a sudden you stop looking at your own issues and you open your heart center and you move into service. And when you move into service, that is your divine calling. So really the fastest way for us to be in love as a collective species is to have our hearts broken. And the children that are basically going through these experiences are doing this from the most loving place they can create, you know, because it's ascension, or the evolutionary process of humans. And basically what's happened is we are becoming superhuman. And the only way that we can become superhuman as a species is to have our hearts completely open, vulnerable, and we're using that as our power source instead of our minds, our intellect, our logic, our money. And as we do that, we have to shift the scale. So everything that's happened, 9/11, all of the devastation of the world, you know, having all of this weather this year, you know, the floods, the fires, the earthquakes, you know, everything that has occurred has been a loving gift of the universe to wake us up into service and unconditional love. So the earth actually went through our 2007 too. She went through her own purging of her greatest shadows. And when children go through this, it is a divine plan to get the rest of the world to take notice of what's really important. And when you look at that, it's kind of like beautifully perfect in design.
Do you think people have a divine design, some sort of divine blueprint to check out at 13?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I teach a lot in my academy about soul contracts because, believe it or not, even, you know, a car accident, even a, you know,
a just falls out of, you know, some branch,
it's
on a picnic.
Designed. Yes, because, you know, think about it. Being human here on Earth is not the easiest thing to do. So to me, the way that I teach it, because I channel a lot of energy and I get the kind of 411 from the non-physical reality, is that before we incarnate, we literally kind of set our life plan up. And this life plan consists of highs and lows. It's almost like a big treasure hunt. And as you're walking through this treasure hunt, there will be dark forests. You know, sometimes you will lose the game. But you set this up for yourself, like, you know what, I really want to have an earth experience from like age like to 0 to like 8, because I don't really need to gather any other data for my spiritual knowledge other than that childhood. Like, I really want to master my childhood, or I really want to come down here. And if you look at everything as virtual reality in a game, then you can understand that death is always chosen from above. But once you incarnate, the mind forgets everything. So, you know, you're seeing someone suffering in a hospital bed, and all of a sudden you're feeling the loss of them, and they're scared too, but they don't remember that they actually set that up. And sometimes, I will probably say 80% of the times, the death experience is designed to wake up the people around them. Because what does that do? It puts you back into, I mean, I had a friend who lost a family member 2 weeks ago, and the first thing he says is, wow, I really want to start taking care of my own health. So you can see the light bulb that goes on in awareness when people lose someone, because we take everything for granted until we lose something. Gratitude is not learned by having. Gratitude is learned by not having, right? Or losing.
Yeah, that's true.
And the planet has to learn gratitude if we're going to evolve.
But so, you're right. The days when I had it seemed like I had an unlimited flow of money. Money would come in so much. We had so much cash, I'm talking. And so my daughter was getting so much money, and she was getting used to just that you can just pull money out, have whatever she wants and all that. And when you go through financial hardship and crisis, you know, then she's having to learn that the best lessons for myself and her were when things were really tight. And so you think that, like you said, to be grateful, to honor money, to value yourselves, to realize that you shouldn't just want and take, and, you know, and what about giving back and just coming back to those good old spiritual lessons, isn't it? And to learn, just coming back to basics and coming back to foundations and coming back to self, and do I really need that? You know, do I really need to keep buying stuff? You know, no, we don't. Just stop buying things and start, you know, cleaning out and simplify your life.
Yes. Well, because, you know, our lives are designed about consumption, and consumption is all about hiding. You know, the more you have, the more valuable you feel. The more, you know, the more you're kind of stuck in a perpetual game of, well, now I need this and now I need that, which really takes your eye off the prize of who you are, because you're kind of filling these voids with things. And I always say that when people go through losing money or losing their jobs or losing their spouses or losing their homes, that it is the best thing that they could ever manifest. Because what they realize is, through that journey of losing what they thought they were, their safety, you know, their hobbies, their needless desires, what they find is that they are there all along underneath there, and they haven't lost themselves. And
I find that the fear of losing something is worse than when it actually happens. When it actually happens and by the time it happens, in fact, you've gone through the transformation that it's like, oh, it's actually okay. And if you think of yourself like a little bird on a branch and you've got wings, that if they take the tree away, you just fly off. you think, wow, I wasn't so attached to the tree. I'm not the tree. I was just sitting on that tree, and now I could fly to another one. It's an illusion, isn't it?
It's
and what
all an illusion. It's all an illusion. And letting go of false security is the #1 reason why we manifest losing money, because it's been false security. It's been false joy. You know, we've been using it to like falsely be happy, falsely feel safe. And so when we lose our money, we realize that we've been safe all along. Like you said, okay, there's no tree, but I can fly. In class last Saturday, I asked my academy class to go within and find their inner warden, who was keeping them in the jail cell of why they weren't becoming who they should be. You know, are you still blaming your spouse? Are you still blaming this? And then like really look at who has the keys to your jail cell. Yeah. Because the jail cell is all self-created. It's almost like a bird saying, you know, I'm stuck on this tree, and forgets that it has wings. And so sometimes the tree has to be removed.
So funny that you're saying this. I was praying that, I watched this Oprah Winfrey little inspiration, and she says that she used to say the prayer of, God, use me. I don't know what my life is, you know, about, but I use my voice, my eyes, my legs, my arms, my whatever. Use me as the channel of the divine, and let me do something meaningful, you know. So I used to say that, whatever it was. And I was in the park, and I really did mean it. I really just keep connecting to Source and just asking God, here you go, I surrender. Just there you go, use me. Just let me be of some service and make a difference. And in that moment, there was this squawking little bird crying, screaming, and I turned around. I thought, what's that? And then the dogs were she was on the ground. She'd obviously broken a little wing, and she hit the ground. And the dogs were going to scoop her up and eat her. But I ran through and just, you know, moved the dogs, and I picked her up. And so little birdie, and she just put her here. And this bird, so and then I'm thinking, now how can I get her into the car with the dogs? And so I threw her in the boot, and then we got her a cage and whatever. But she's like so beautiful, because now I let her out every day. She only flies like up to my shoulder. She can't fly completely, so she's kind of like lost one of her wings. But she's taught me, like about she's like the reflection of me being in the cage. You know what I mean? And so, and that's what, yeah. So when I was praying to God, I get a bird that falls out of the cage to teach me about myself. And then so yeah, there's a strong connection there. And then that's why I let her out the cage every day. It's like, fly, go, be free. I can tell you.
What a beautiful metaphor for you to actually manifest and watch, you know. Like I did that too, because you know, for the last 7 years, I wake up every day, and I believe that when you come back into your body from your sleep cycle, that there's this brief moment where you are no thing, you know, before you remember who you are, feel all of your emotions in your body, all your chemical residue of the past starts to flow inside of you. There's this beautiful moment where you are nobody, you are no thing. And it's that moment that our brain is actually in a state of being called theta, which is our closest version to God that we'll ever be. And we can actually get there through meditation. And in this place between sleep and awake, where you're not really judging anything, you have so much power accessible to you. And every morning I say to myself, you know, use me for this message. Use me for this message. Well, what this year has taught me is where I have been in the way of that message. And because my job has always ever been to remind people, and again, it's like, remember, put back together who you are. And when I get lost in doing more than that, like we were talking about earlier, you know, when I get lost in too much that is outside of the basics of my purpose, my life goes completely in the toilet. And it's like the universe like learning to parent you, because, you know, I thought, well, my job is this, to teach, remind, and then put my hands on people, and then help them with their careers and help them do this. And like you said, then your attention is just everywhere, and you can't focus on your mission. Yeah. And so if we would just kind of like fine tune it, I mean, I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, this is just all I'm supposed to be doing, is teaching teachers, is certifying teachers.
Yeah, it's actually same here, and we've got the same purpose. It's actually, my purpose is so simple, because of course it's your purpose, it's easy, right?
Right.
But then, because it is so effortless, And it's so knowing, you don't value it. I find that I don't think it's that important because it's like, oh, later.
It's second nature. Yeah, it's like your left arm. It's just second nature. You don't feel the bigness of it.
No.
Right.
So
we get lost in that because we feel like it's supposed to be this big, like, exciting thing that we're supposed to be doing. And it's really like, that's why I teach in my academy. Your job is to get paid to be you. And then your job is really just to find out who you are, because as soon as you find out who you are, that stream of consciousness, that stream of abundance can start running through you, and you will be paid. Every time I have been paid throughout my career, it is when I was really just doing the simple part of my purpose. When I try to go over the top and kill myself, you know, doing this, everything stops because the universe is saying you're not on purpose. You know, and it's also about us being humble to the fact that what we are doing is enough.
We've got a couple of, hi Deb, Deb's here, and Natalie. And these are some other coaches and consultants, light workers like us. And but for all those other spiritual teachers who are listening, is that to know that just affirming that when you're not fulfilling your life's purpose, so when I go and chase shiny objects and worry about everyone else but myself, or waste time doing things that because you have this bright idea that's not really guided, hell on earth comes. Like, it's like everything that could go wrong possibly, nothing's manifesting, the doors are all closed. It's literally like the universe is literally like putting me in a little cage like a bird, and nothing is attracting, nothing good is really happening. But the minute I decide, even doing a whiteboard of a blueprints and start to plan it out, map it out, I'm going to do this, put that there, and oh, I need this and I need that, and you start to co-create, the people show up, the students or the so-called, you know, your new coaches who you're here to certify, they literally just come, like, and you're thinking, my God, where have I been? What have I been doing? Wasting my time on other things.
Well, we live in a vibrational universe. And so whatever vibration we are sending out to the universe, we are going to get that exact mirror reflection of who we're being. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about projection reflection. You know, when I'm not being my authentic self, I'm going to attract characters that remind me of that. And when I am being my authentic, genuine, you know, in this state of gratitude, humility, understanding, passion, love, grace, all of these things, then those characters are like literally cued from the universe. And then they come in and say, oh, now I'm here to help you. And you're like, well, where have you been in my darkest hour? And they were like, well, you can't show up in your darkest hour because we're not in alignment of that, you know, because it really is virtual reality. And we are constructing this video game that we're playing by virtue of being in tune to that higher self, or in tune to ego. And when we're in tune to that smaller self, we've got to show ourselves who we are as that person. And that is pain, like you said, hell on earth. It's suffering, it's loss, it's judgment, it's rejection, it's old identity issues.
Like you were just saying, so, okay, so let's just say, they say listen to guidance. So let's just say guidance is saying to you, do that webinar, or go and record yourself, or go and write that book, or whatever. You know, you're getting this really strong feeling to go and do that. You're having dreams about it. People are talking about, why don't you do that, Cal? And, you know, you get little messages and everyone. And then you say, but you know, it doesn't pay the bills today. I've got to go and worry about money. And so, again, you're coming out of the vortex where the vortex is saying, drawing you in to say, if you sat there, even for probably an hour, and started to write that book or do those oracle cards or record yourself in that webinar or whatever, just sitting there in that vortex, like you're saying, the phone rings immediately. A little Facebook Messenger comes in. Oh, hi, Cal, I want to set up a Zoom call. Or all the customers that you were chasing and looking for that you were repelling.
Yes.
It's just like, and like you said, you might as well just go, if things aren't working for you, go back to your guidance, or go back to that project that you put in the box and put in the drawer for 10 years, that you keep getting guided to go and publish that book, write those programs, record yourself. And and everyone says, well, I haven't got any money, and I do it too. And it's like you keep getting more of what you do not want. So it's like, go and do what you're guided to do, and the universe will be activated in that moment of co-creation and bring you the solutions to your problems, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, the best advice that I can say is start where you are with what you have, with what you know. You know, you don't need to know everything. You don't need to be everything. You don't need to have everything. You don't need, you know, a lot of my students say, well, you know what, I can't channel like you can, or, you know, I can't teach like so-and-so. And I explained in class that We are all part of this very important puzzle. And, you know, just because you're looking at my piece of the puzzle and it looks like a really cool piece, and you're looking at your piece and it's not feeling great yet, you know, you don't have any idea that without that piece, that puzzle cannot be completed. And what I tell all, because I have people in my academies, we're in 18 countries, of, you know, 65 years old down to 18 years old. And the demographics there is everyone has this very unique spin on how they're able to show how the universe works. And when I, you know, a 40-year-old mother with 4 kids, try to tell, you know, an 18-year-old kid how the universe works, they need to hear that from an 18-year-old, or they need to hear that from a baby boomer, or they need to hear that in a different way. Well, you know, you're a mom, or you're this. I don't have that, you know, rapport. I don't have that in common with you, so I can't associate, which is why I love certifying teachers from every demographic in every country, because we're all saying the one truth, different through our own stories. And stories is actually what binds us together. You know, when I tell someone about something that I've been through, they can relate to that, and they say, oh my gosh, I went through that too. And now all of a sudden they believe that they can achieve it, right? Because they're watching someone else. But like you said about money, where I'm really inspired to write this book or put this email together or, you know, do this webinar, but I've got to pay these bills. If really in that moment you're going back towards fear, you're telling the universe that you're not ready for your purpose. And so the universe has got to keep showing you those hard times, because the thing is you'll never work enough, you'll never know enough, you'll never be enough over there in that small world for you to get over there. That's not going to catalyst you. What catalysts you is to say, I'm not going to worry about money today. I'm going to spend all day working on that book, working on that project. And then I teach in my academy, we taught this last Saturday, is this little thing called self-sabotage, right? Because, I mean, we've all experienced it. We get to this point where we're ready to just explode, or we're ready to have that meeting, or we're ready to sign the deal, or we're ready to do something, and we forget the meeting, or we botch it somehow, or we get in our own way. And a lot of times we are more afraid of our own light. We're afraid to turn that volume up on ourselves. We're in our way of our own career because the last time we were authentic, we were judged for it, or we were hurt for it, or we were ridiculed for it.
Or burn at the stake or something.
Well, and that's actually true, because the thing is in your body, in your DNA holds the memory of every lifetime you've ever had. And your DNA and your body communicates through chemicals. Right? So say I'm about to go on the stage and present, you know, this teachings to 50,000 people, and my body starts remembering the last time I did that, it ended in a death experience, right?
That's right. You're the same people in the audience.
Exactly. Literally, the person who's helping me go through the door.
It's just video games.
Okay. It's the last time you did that, you suffered something really, you know, horrible, and so your body moves into protection and self-defense. I'm looking for it, buddy. Sorry, we've got my little five-year-old here. There we go.
4.
He's going to be 5 next week.
I'm 4, Mom. Get it right.
He's actually older than the universe, but, you know, he's playing the 4-year-old, right?
They say that the kids but they say don't get confused with children because they're just small adults. They're not kids.
Are. Well, so are we, aren't we? We are literally like children, you know, and my daughter asked me something the other day. She's 22, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm still a kid, you know, like, you tell me.
Just go and Google. I always say to Chloe, I don't know, just Google it. Just Google everything you want to know.
Well, Google is the manifestation of the Akashic records.
Yeah.
You know, anything you ever want to remember, good and bad, you can find through the Google process. You know, it's like it's all housed for us to not have to go into that trance place and access it. Yes, you can.
But I was teaching this theory the other day about someone, because they were saying about the thoughts and how things create. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, you know, if you Google, I don't want red carpet, and you hit search, what's coming up? Mm-hmm. Well, just red carpet, you know. And if you said, or if you said, I do want red carpet, and you search, red carpet comes up. So whether you say I want it or I don't, like you're asking the universe for a manifestation of a new car or something, it doesn't hear don't want or want, and it's not even a thought. It's actually a vibration. It's a feeling towards having that car, whether it's like exciting, where there's no resistance, or there's like, I'm excited, but I want it, but there's this resistance that people don't realize it. Like, they go, well, I asked the universe didn't deliver it. But what they're not realizing is that you've not shifted the belief or taken the right action, or you're not really listening, isn't it?
Yeah. The universe has one answer, and it's always yes.
Yeah.
You know, if you say, oh, I'm scared of this, the universe says yes, and it gives you more of that. If you say, I don't want that, the universe says yes.
I've got no money. Okay. You got no money. You're right.
Okay. Now you get to play the character who has no money, and let's help you with that. Let's send you everything that is in resonance of you not having money, because that's who you've decided to be. I always say it's not about a human being. It's not about a human doing. It's about a human being. Whoever you decide to be, the universe is going to honor that with yes, yes, yes. So if I want to be a victim, the universe is going to say yes to me. If I want to be afraid, the universe is going to say yes to me. So there's only one answer. It's always yes. So if I want to get lost within myself, the universe will say yes, and it will bring up every single thing that I'm afraid of. You know, and also, you know, we're an electromagnetic universe. And so the universe listens in response to two charges, and it's the negative and the positive. So fear and love. So whatever I fear the most, that brings up the most chemical response in my electromagnetic field, I'm going to manifest by default, even if I don't want it. Right? And in whatever I'm saying yes to in a loving way. And so what I teach my students is to master the art of neutrality, or the neutral point. Because law of attraction will not respond to you in a neutral state where you're just kind of like whatever. And if you look at everything that's ever been written, the art of basically being the creator of your reality is the surrender point.
And so you know what? You've ever heard a story?
You're in neutrality.
Yeah, it's true. When you've ever heard of a person who says, I was given 3 months to live, like say he got cancer or something. And he goes, you know what? I don't give a shit. I'm going to go and get drunk. I'm going to drink myself to death because I don't give a shit anymore. And they've literally surrendered in that moment and got drunk, and he cured himself and he never died 40 years later. And I'm thinking, I think that was because not that he knew about law of attraction. He neutralized it because he didn't care. He's like, I don't care. I'm going to get drunk, and alcohol probably cured him. I don't know what happened. But
you know, the number one lesson the universe was trying to teach us this year was to let go of attachment.
Yes, definitely. That was my lesson.
See, in 3D or the old paradigm, love meant attachment, obligation, loyalty, you know, turning yourself off for someone else, doormat, all of that. And then as we move into our evolutionary process, we're going to be looking at everything as a connection, not an attachment. So our relationships have to become connections, because if they're attachments, there's still suffering there. If there's suffering there, that's a low vibration, and that's not a purification point. So if you've had trouble with relationships this year,
just putting back down to attachments, is that because there's an expectation that's not met? And
always. Well, and it's also about quantum entanglement. I just did a big webinar about quantum entanglement. And what that basically means is when you attach to something, you become an aspect of them. And therefore, you're not free. And it will give you that feeling of trapped. And a soul does not ever want to feel enslaved. Because a soul is here to be completely unique, yet connected to everything, but completely in its own resonance pattern. So when all of a sudden I'm afraid of my child being hurt by someone else, I attach to them, and now I become my child's fears.
Yes, and you're projecting.
And now I start manifesting by default the entanglement process, which is what I teach about the twin flame energy. You know, there's a soulmate energy, and then there's a twin flame energy. And the twin flame energy is all about attachments and suffering.
I want to know that, honestly, people explain that more. People ask me every day about the differences between the twin flame and the soulmate, because they're all trying to manifest their soul romantic partner. And they'll say, I just want a twin flame, twin flame. I said, be careful what you wish for, because the twin flame is normally the biggest lessons. It's not necessarily the easy one.
It's that heroine relationship, because you know how we were talking about how our purpose just feels like whatever. It's not like super like ecstasy because it's just who we are. Well, the soulmate feels like, oh, there you are. And then there's huge expansion that takes place with the soulmate. But the twin flame literally is the deconstruction relationship. And it's usually so intoxicating and high and low, and it's destructive. But destruction also creates it creates understanding. And so the twin flame relationships are very important if you're not self-aware.
And also, can I just say this, the twin flame, it not necessarily comes in as the romantic partner on the white horse. It could it be just the neighbor, or could it be the the child, or tell me about the twin
flames are not, usually twin flames are only about 10% of the time love relationships, like spousal energy or boyfriends. It could be your neighbor, it could be your boss, it could be your coworker, it can be your child. I mean, most of us have, if you have numerous kids, you've got one kid that's your twin flame. It's just that anyone who literally triggers you to the point where you're having to be with that person in some sort of relationship, whether it's, because you live next door or you work with them, but you're being forced together, but it's a very kind of unsettling relationship with highs and lows, and it brings out the best and worst in you.
Yeah, it does. And they are, like you say, when it's good, it's just divine love and it's all beautiful. But when it's bad, it's absolute, it's just soul destroying. It's hard work. But it's true, but without that relationship, you wouldn't have gone so deep within yourself, and you wouldn't have opened up your heart, and you wouldn't have learned about boundaries and about, like you said, about detangling that attachment, and really learning about the differences about, chasing the tiny objects and really focusing on your divine purpose, and just noticing how other people can, like you said, completely turn your whole life upside down, inside out. It's like literally a ball in the jewelry shop, isn't it? It's like you're happy.
And the brain experiences it the same exact way that we would taking heroin, because it brings us to this place of ecstasy that we cannot get in our human lives. And then it brings us all the way down. So we need another hit, right? So it literally, people, I think, are the greatest forms of drugs.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not like heroin where I could be like, okay, you go away. This could be my child or my mother-in-law. And it's bringing out these places inside of you that are such highs and lows that, that you can't remember who you are in that place of neutrality, because the highs and lows are too great of an experience and you're craving both. The brain also gets very addicted to pain. If love has always equaled pain to you, if mom wasn't allowing you to be authentic, or, you didn't have that loving family unit that was just unconditional. Oh, awesome, buddy. Then you've learned that love equals pain, and your brain and body are actually going to crave that, because that's what they've known the longest. The brain just wants what it's always had. And so it's going to seek out abusive relationships. Again, this is a supercomputer that's like downloading all these apps, constantly. And this app is going, ooh, love equals pain. Let's look for that.
Or love equals control, or love equals abandonment, or whatever.
Rejection and judgment, yes.
Esther Hicks says that you're all confused about this love word, and what you should be saying is that I'm in alignment to that person. Because when you're in alignment to your own higher self and to your own self-love, the vortex, then you can feel the love for another human being. Right. But if you're out of alignment and not in the vortex, then you're not experiencing love anyway, because you're not in alignment to love.
Right.
So
you're experiencing need. Right.
Yeah. So, and that's why we get obsessed with that person. I need that person to love me because I can't get into the basically, I don't know how to get into alignment to my vortex and love myself. So now I'm obsessing over that person, that they must give that love to me like a drug. It's literally like that, isn't it? And totally. A lot of people are experiencing that. So
and you can only experience love as much as you love yourself. So if I'm searching for someone to love me, to remind me that I'm good enough, then the universe is saying yes to me and will bring me that character who won't love me.
Yeah.
Because in the universe, I teach in the academy that want versus need are very different frequencies. When you want, it's a place of expansion and creation and alignment. And when you need, it's an expression of lack and victim energy. And so when you need that person to be in love with you, or you need that person to be safe so that you can sleep at night, if you need your children to be well behaved, if you need money, the universe is saying, okay, yes, you're the person who needs. So now let me bring you everything that you can't have, because you need to keep needing.
Yes, that's right. Yes. I know, and like most of us are brought up with that need of approval. Like that's the classic, the need of approval. You'll never get it.
No,
and,
ever.
Yeah. And so it's like, you're on a journey of your whole life needing outside approval. That's the whole planet. And it's like, and that's why people get so unhappy and jealous and we get so upset. It's because, you're actually on the journey, instead of on the journey of self-approval, self-love, self-acceptance, and me, myself, I, and just focusing on that journey, and then every other relationship will work because you're in alignment. And when something does, like you said, come in and upset you, interrupt everything, you can kindly just escort them. They will just leave, or they will energetically just be untangled, won't they? But you're just going to that's what they keep saying. A lot of the time when people are coming to me for help and they want help with this relationship, that all I keep getting is that just the answer is to let go. Just let go and let the divine, like they say, let go and let God. Let the divine put everything and orchestrate everything where it's meant to be.
Yeah.
And your life just return back to love, return to peace, and go back to fulfilling your life's purpose.
Yes.
And everything is going to it's like your car's returning to the lane, like in the traffic, and you've just gone off your path, you've come out of your lane. Someone else has stirred you up. But if we just all return back to our lane and our own force, our own life force, then everything is all orchestrated perfectly. Everything will go back to the way it's meant to be.
It will be perfect because the universe knows what you want more than you do. It's when we get in the way and start saying we need, and then we consume. It's kind of like I show people that the universe works exactly the way the body works. And so if you did a 3-day fast, which means you removed all the information that you were dumping into your body, because food is information, and for 3 days the body got to recalibrate and go back to its natural design of it knows what it needs, it knows how to live, it knows how to survive, and it knows how to thrive, which means your immune system knows how to work. Your heart knows how to beat. But when we're putting all of this information in it constantly, the brain is having to challenge its voice with the food's voice or the chemical voice. And so now there's this like mishmash of communication that goes on. And that's why so many people, if they just did a 3-day fast, their immune system turns back on, they move out of fight or flight, they feel better, they feel lighter, they have clarity. So it's like we need to do a mental fast, right?
Well, can I say this? How I got out of my little dark spot because of my patterning and my programming from childhood. Anyway, how I got out of it was I did my 30 days to prosperity. And I used a boat. I just found the yacht club, and I found this big flash boat because it was a symbol. I said, I'm looking for a symbol of freedom. I'm looking for a symbol of peace. And because I'm a bit of a person that needs to attach, I'm like a Scorpio that needs to hook onto something, I thought rather than hook onto people, I want to hook onto something else, whether it was a tree or a bird or a boat, because that stopped me from needing those people. And then so I did my 30 days on this, and I walked down the jetty, and every day I did this walk, and I got my mind and everything into alignment just onto the boat that was representing freedom. And it shifted me like that. So then my pattern, my brain, instead of focusing on that person or those people, it started thinking about the boat, because the brain is going to do it on a habit. It's going to, you're creating a new habit. So it's better off to have a healthy habit if you want to be focused on, attached to something. Focus on something that is good for you versus something that's, a negative in your life, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and how we're actually going to become superhuman is exactly that way, because the brain is always just going to fall into its auto default, where you've been or where you're going. And if you're not consciously creating where you're going, you'll actually create the future from the past, because it's just a downfall. It's just a loop, because the brain does not know the difference between imagination and real. So if you're using your imagination to recreate the past because you're worried, because you failed last time, because you're divorced twice, then the brain is going to say, okay, this is what's real to us. So what we actually have to do is we have to stop that program. We have to show up. We have to be fully aware, and we have to say, no, I'm going to start looking at this boat. I'm going to start looking at this. I'm going to start quantumly focusing all of my time and attention on where I choose to go versus where I've been. And then what happens is your cells in your body actually have to become that version of you, right? And so they go through a metamorphosis, they go through a change, and then they stop feeding off of the programs of the past, and they become a more advanced species because you're creating instead of just recycling information.
And that's what was happening to me. I'm thinking, oh my God, because I'm quite unconscious, but it's still these patterns are coming up. And I basically said, oh my God, like because I keep attracting more conflict, attracting more mess, attracting just everything I didn't want. Basically, the universe just kept bringing it to me. I'm like, oh my God. So, but as soon as I did this boat thing, I just imagined washing the windows. I imagined polishing the boat. I just imagined, and I physically ran and walked to the jetty. I met a nice man and spoke about boats. I created this whole new world as if I owned this $40 million yacht, you know. Like, I'm just going, this is fun. And the mind literally just starts thinking now about sun seekers and all these big flash boats. It's amazing.
The brain is a natural problem solver. So if you're saying this boat is me and I am this reality, the brain has to figure out how to give it to you using the universal codes of information instead of I'm tired of being this victim, which the brain says, okay, let's go fix that, because the brain is very humble in its design until you access the pineal gland and your frontal cortex, which is your superhuman brain. And with those aspects, if you're in the past, if you're worried, if you're in fear, if you're in fight or flight, you're not accessing your greatest human potential. So by you saying, okay, I'm not going to look at circumstances. My life's in the toilet. I have no money. You know, everybody's lost me. You know, if you start to say, this is my boat, and every day you're walking by it and you're thinking about it, the brain will stop being that person of, you know, who was attracted. That is fantastic, buddy. The brain will stop listening to the frequencies that it's been attuned to. Now you have to remember, okay, so I'm 42 years old. I've got, what, 35 years of old programming. So I have to stay really present in my future present if I'm going to create a different reality, because I've got, what, 35 years of default, right? Which is the power of the present moment, which is what we teach, is like, you cannot create the future if you're not in the present.
That's it. Mm-hmm. And you're right, like, you know, when you do a vision board as well, I say to people, you know, put these false pictures in there. I say, put a photo of yourself or even a past photo where you were having a good time, because the brain's not getting, it's like, oh, new picture, or an old picture, like something that feels good. And you start to swirl it around and the mind starts to go, oh, that's what you want. But the higher self knows, look, at the end of the day, your higher self knows what you want, what you love, what you hate, but we're not allowing that higher self to guide us. And so, and all you're trying to find, I'm trying to do is to stop being triggered by circumstances and start to like I said, to refocus and use the law of attraction to my benefit to shift. It's like basically like, you know, the football goals. Mm-hmm. And then I say to myself, on the left side of the oval, that's me going, creating by default. I'm repelling my abundance. Yes. And when I go to the right side of the oval, the big goals, it's me creating what I do want and attracting, you know, where I belong and fulfilling my divine plan. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do now. When I take the dogs to the park, I basically just check in and see where my vortex is. And you literally, if you just do that every morning, create some sort of habit, a 30-day challenge, or, you know, go outside and use a tree, or just use something that can get you back into alignment and getting you back in the stream of well-being, so you attract more of what you do want, isn't it? It's a feeling. It's
a feeling, and the universe is responding to thought, word, and deed. So it's not just about what I get a lot of all over the world is people who know all of this. They understand the vortex. They understand law of attraction. They understand from a logical, literal perspective, but they're not doing anything. Mm. And if you don't do anything, the universe is looking at you as someone who wants, you know, or needs, is not someone who does. Mm. So it's like you actually have to set the intention, and then you have to move into that intention. Like you have to act it out. You have to get very childlike. You have to start pretending. If you keep looking at the logic of circumstances, you will always suffer, because circumstances were created when you were out of alignment. So when you get in alignment, it does take a little bit of time for you to practice that character, become that character before the evidence shows up. Like you have to become, right? If you look at that, if you want something to come, you have to be it. So you have to become something, and you have to be responsible for yourself, which is the ability to respond. You have to be able to respond. One of the things that I say is you want to know where you're out of alignment. You want to know where your shadows are. Write down your wish list. Like, I mean, down to like everything you've ever wanted, what you want in a man, what you want in a woman, what you want in a career, what you want in a lifestyle, and then look at it and find where you're insecure. Find where you're in judgment of yourself, because think about it. If you met your perfect soulmate today that was like everything on your list, would you be good enough? Yeah, that's what the universe is listening to. Like, are you good enough? So what you do is you take those lists and you say, okay, 30 days, I'm going to work out my insecurities, and I'm going to pretend I met this person, and I'm going to clear this shadow and this wound, and I'm going to get awareness of this. Because then when you look at that list and there's no insecurity and there's no self-judgment of you fully manifesting that, you'll have it. Because there's no shadow element there. And really, you can find out where you're hiding from yourself in your own insecurities.
That's it. And you're right. It's all well and good. You people are asking for things. I'm going, okay, just honestly pretend. And we used to do this before Chloe was born. And because Nigel and I could never come to alignment that we were ready to have children. And I used to say, look, if you could go down to Coles, down the market, and pick up the child today and bring her home, are you ready? Would you drive down there now? And he goes, oh, God, no. And I'd ask him a few months later, are you ready to go to Coles and pick up the baby and have that whole new world start? Oh, God, no. God. And I asked him for years, and then one day he finally said, yes, I'm actually ready to go down the road now and pick up the child, and then I ended up falling pregnant a few months later.
Wow.
So talk about being ready. It's not, if you're not ready, and I say that to people, if someone says, oh, I want 1,000 clients, I said, okay, let's pretend they're at the front door. Are you ready for the 1,000 clients? Like, oh, shit, no, not really. So sometimes we're asking for things we're not really, really wanting or ready for.
Well, we're not ready for. I mean, one of the things about you and I's business is that I talked about this in class last Saturday, is we are in the market of selling ourselves. Basically, we don't have a product to say, hey, buy this cup. I didn't make this cup, but I will endorse this cup. We're saying, hey, I'm here. So completely vulnerable. And so the number one thing is we're afraid of being rejected or judged for who we are, especially as teachers and coaches, because we're on the front line. We're saying you're basically buying a session with me, or you're buying my class. And there's a huge vulnerability that happens with light workers where we've had so much judgment of who we were in the past when we were really authentic that we're somehow sabotaging our careers, because what if someone writes a bad review, or what if someone doesn't like my book, or what if someone says I'm ugly, or what if someone makes fun of me? And that will bring too much pain. So instead, I will sabotage the experience so I don't quite manifest it, so that I can always want it.
Mom, guess what? Somebody at school got fun of me.
We will talk about that after class. Who was it?
I forgot.
That's okay. We'll talk about it after my class, okay? Okay. Someone got made fun of me. It's so cute.
That was the perfect time, because that's what we're scared of, people making fun of us. How about that?
Well, and that's how he has to learn to start reserving himself, because here he is super authentic, and then someone starts to say, ew, I don't like when you do that. And then he says, something's wrong with me, right? So we learn it in our first 7 years. And the funny thing is he's about to turn 5. And if you look at my pyramid of the 7-year cycle, year 5 is the year that we really determine self-love.
Wow.
Right? So as conscious parents, there's the first year is self-awareness, like, what am I? Number 2 is discovery, like, look at what I can do. And as we move up into the 7-year cycle, then he's moving into this year 5 of self-love. And so it's like who he is in this world. And is it safe for him to love himself? And he's been one of my most amazing teachers. I mean, my oldest is 22, but I was not aware enough when my youngest was born to see what I see with him in his 7-year cycles, and how he is just this very vulnerable flower that's trying to bloom regardless of his situation and circumstance.
But it's like this, it's one journey self-love. You get at school and in adult life. And one thing I taught Chloe, we used to play this game in the house because she used to come home from school and say, oh, Mum, these people were mean to me. These people, every day. She was mean, she was mean. There's always someone mean to her. So she's upset. And I'm like, oh, my God, you're just taking all this on, you know. And I said, right, let's go get some lemons. So I got some lemons off the tree. And I said, this lemon represents, I'm going to say a good thing and then a bad thing. And you decide to catch it or drop it. She said, okay. So I'd say to her, oh, you're really ugly. And I'd throw the lemon. And she goes, oh, and she just dropped the lemon, right? Then I'd say, oh, you're so beautiful, Chloe. And I'd throw the beautiful Chloe. She caught it. So we'd play all these games and I'd throw some really horrible remarks and the good ones and all that. And she just decided in her brain, yeah, I want that and I don't. And she decided. So that was all fun. But then
That's beautiful. I love that.
A year later, she would get in the car and she'd go, and say in high school now, by the way. And so she'd go, Mommy, these girls, and this happened, and that wasn't true. And all I have to say when I'm driving is, Chloe, lemons. I just say that word.
It's like association.
Yeah. And she goes, oh, yeah, I've got to drop it. Lana, what did I do? I caught all those lemons, and they're throwing them at me. And then I told the counsellors at the school, and I said, we're using that now to the kids to teach them.
That is wonderful.
And it's exciting. Yeah, decide what you're going to keep. And so you're right. So whether it's Instagram and because now the social media, like you can spend 25 years getting a good reputation, and then one match, someone can sort of burn the whole trees down after 100 years of growing. And we have to be able to sustain ourselves to be so strong enough and to be in your own integrity that you got to let it go and just drop them like lemons and just keep doing what. I mean, look what Oprah's been through. She didn't just give up being Oprah. No. Continue being Oprah.
Well, and that's another thing too. Is as I teach my teachers and my students is to, beautiful buddy, is to stay plugged in. To stay plugged into this type of support system where when they do lose track or they do get off their road, that they can use us as their GPS. You know, because we'll be the first one to remind them of the lemon. We'll be the first one to get them back. We will channel the higher self for them until they remember who they are. And so that was something that really helped me was, you know, while I was alone during this process of my Kundalini waking up and accessing all of this energy and seeing everything that didn't make sense to me. At the end of the day, when I didn't feel safe, I would just pick up a book and just read a few lines and then go, okay, I remember who I am. Or, you know, watch that YouTube video or watch a teacher. And so I've created this community where people can just kind of plug in when they just need to remember who they are and hear other people's stories. And it's like, okay, I need to feel safe about where I'm going because this is so unknown.
Need to happen.
Yes. Yes.
Like now, I'm a bit. I'm going to support networks, platform, and networking support groups for people like us. Because when I look at my path of my awakening to the, like I said, the Kundalini awakening and all the things that I saw and everything in the spirit world, I never had a. There was no Facebook. There was no one. I had this Hay House. But the Hay House was my support team of spiritual teachers to make me think that I'm normal. You know, it's okay, right? But so you have to create this network.
Yes. Just stay plugged in to what feels like home. Stay plugged into the resonant point. Stay plugged into the information because we're moving into untapped waters. We're moving into a space where we've never been before. Instead of wanting to be great, we're becoming great. And I talk a lot about in my academy the different frequency between want versus have. Believe it or not, most of your shadows are actually buried in once you have something. Wanting is always the future desire. So you can like, oh, you want it. But when you have it, that's when all of the fear comes. Like, oh my gosh, now what?
Yeah.
So the shadows are actually hidden in the manifestation.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's a sign. I'm getting guided to finish up in the broadcast. I think the little angels are going, oh my God, we could talk forever together. I really love chatting, and I think we should just do these on a regular basis.
Let's do it. So
once a month with Jessica Alstrom. I would really love to see you in Perth in November.
Me and my team will be there.
Yay!
You don't have to bend my arm backwards. We are dying to come out there and just party with you guys.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be beautiful. So we'll get that marketing done and get everyone invited into that. So, all right. So honestly, thank you. Now, just tell everybody let me write it. Get the dog off my lap.
You can find me directly, jessicaalstrom.com, and access all of my academies and my work there. I have over 300 videos on YouTube. If you liked anything you heard today, all of it, podcasts, teachings. And then I have a large academy called Transcendence International Consciousness Academy, which is a year-long University of Higher Self. It is basically, it's your becoming. It's going to eliminate your shadows and get you into that state of the I am, where you really can live and breathe and be your divine purpose. And for those who just need to kind of tap in daily, I have a very large forum on Facebook called Quantum Life, and that's Jessica Alstrom Quantum Life. And I have a free community where I do channeled messages, forecasts, question and answers, and then Jessica Alstrom Quantum Life TICA, which is a smaller version of my academy that I just teach my curriculum once to twice a week on that forum, and that's accessible through Facebook. Facebook seems to be my international connection.
Yeah, if you go to my Facebook page with this thing in there, just put in the comments all of those. So then
I'll have my team put all of the links in this in the comment box, and if you guys have questions or anything like that, just reach out to us. And we've made it so that there's so many different ways to access this information, so that you're never alone, and everything is at different price points. So even if you're manifesting the lack right now, there's still a place for you to be able to tap in and be part of our academy. So
and my academy, my coach platform available in April 2018, and I'm doing the same work as you. Courses, collaborate, and make it bigger than now.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and we'll share your links on our pages, and let's just grow this global awareness.
Definitely. Great job. Great speaking to you. I don't know how long we'll be speaking for, but it's it's just wonderful. I think we just need, this is so important for you to hear, and it's just great to connect everyone again, and then like you're saying, reminding people, wake up and get on purpose and enjoy. So
we don't have a choice, so we can go kicking and screaming, or we can just go with the flow, right?
Just go forward and ride. Thank you so much. All right. So thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
I love.